a couple days since I went live, and I thought I have a couple of really small projects to solder. I have not been practicing my stained glass because it has been so terribly hot outside. As you can see, my hands are already sweating. But I have a couple of really small ones, and I thought I would just come on and do some soldering. Since it's been a while, I have come to the realization that I do need to just get to it and order a new soldering iron. The one that I have is a Weller, and as much as it's been working for me, I can't get other tips for it. Apparently it's for soldering like electronics, and even though the heat is very consistent with this soldering iron that I have, I can't get other tips for it, and so the beaded edge I'm just never going to get any better at. So I do need to just bite down and order. Probably the Hacko is the one that everybody recommends. There is another Weller that I could get, but I'm pretty salty about getting this one, so we'll see what happens. But I'm just gonna go through and solder some of my really small, I'm calling it Summerween collection, and I just want to open the comments in the event anybody does join. So I do have it open if anybody does want to join or has any questions. And this was a new copper foil that I had used because my other copper foil was just not working at all. Hopefully that's high enough. And so I'm kind of also testing out to see how it actually works. And I do need a new grinder bit, so my small pieces are just horrific right now too. But this is all about learning and improving. Hi Owen, thanks for joining. I'm just going to be soldering some really small projects. It's been a while since I did a live or did stained glass in general. I'm new to this if you've never seen my channel, but I have a couple smaller ones. It's been way too hot out to actually do anything out here, so I thought since I had some smaller ones I would come on and just solder. This is for a Summerween collection. And I know that I have to come back and do hooks and all of that stuff, so I'll tin it and fix up all the lines too when I come back to do that. But I have to adjust the temperature, so just to make it a little bit more, a little bit easier. I'm gonna solder this side and then I'll tin both sides and add the hook. Hi Sunstone, thanks for joining. So I'm going to lower my temperature to do the edges because if it's too high when you're just tinning it, it'll kind of just rip your copper foil right off. At least the foil that I use. And I do go back and fix all the solder lines at the end. And then I do need to get my heat resistant glove to do the beaded edge. And then I'll add hooks and I'll smooth out all of the lines. And this part is probably really difficult to see on screen. Hey Sue, how's it going? As you can tell, I do this outside. I'm just soldering some really small projects, some of that Summerween stuff I was working on before. I have come to the conclusion. I tried looking for tips for this soldering iron. It's a Weller, and it, unfortunately, they don't create tips for this one that has like that wedge tip, so I do need to invest in a different soldering iron, and I'm very bummed about it because I paid a ton of money for this one thinking it was the correct one. But I am still gonna practice my beaded edge while I have this. Can you use WD-40 for cutting glass? I don't know if, I don't think I would regularly practice that. Did you look up online? Like, I've never seen anybody do that, but I'm so glad that you were able to cut some. I was thinking, so that kind of inspired me to do a different, like, longer video specifically about like the basics of it type of thing, because I learned it when I took my class and I never really thought about it. But I am gonna put something together for like the real basics of it. Interesting. I know they use that sometimes for, I would look it up online still, just in case. I mean, that seems kind of really slippery. I know for like patina, some process in patina, I've seen people talk about that, but never for cutting glass. I'm so glad. So was it so much easier when you finally, like, did you hear the glass cutting and kind of get a better feel for it? Yeah, you heard it, yeah. Sometimes you don't hear it, which is always like makes me panic. I'm like, did it really cut? Did it not cut? But I'm so excited. I am gonna look it up when I'm off of here too, just to make sure. And if I see anything different, I'll let you know next time. But if it works, that's great. Oh, that's so cool. So now you've cut the glass. What's your next step in it? Or are you still kind of getting familiar with just using the tools? Because that's a big step. I'm still not comfortable with using the tools all the time. So I'm gonna put the hooks on and then go through and smooth everything out. Thank you, you too. I'm so excited for you. I can't wait to hear how it goes. So I'm just raising my temperature to put the hooks on, and then I will go through and clean up all of the lines. The hooks I always put on the back, which I think most people do. And you can use anything that you want. I wish I had something that was slightly thinner to work with, but this works the best for what I'm doing. And I think it came with these little tools, came with some copper foil I ordered, if anybody's wondering. And I just take it and I twist it around. It's usually a little bit tighter. But there we go. The biggest thing for making the jump ring is that it's flat and it's level. Because otherwise this little tail, if it's not pinched down, it'll stick right out of your solder, and it's a pain to work with and to cover. And I know I need 2 of them, so I'm just going to do the same thing and hope that it works. And you just twist it around with your tool. Sometimes it breaks, so you got to find that perfect spot. And I used to tin it once it was actually on there because it was pretty easy. But then I started using different temperatures, and when I would tin it, it would heat up the solder at the bottom and cause issues. So now I try to tin it before I put it on. You can also get pre-tinned copper. I just have had this, so I never really invested in the other stuff. And to tin it, all that you do is flux it, and then my soldering iron already has solder on it. You can just go around, and it makes a terrible sound though, so I don't want to do too much of it. And it's super easy to clean off if you do get extra on there. It just makes it a little bit easier when you're going to attach it. Now, a lot of people have tools that hold things in place. I don't, because I'm a very early beginner. So I'm just going to do what I can. And sometimes it works smoothly, and other times it doesn't. See, sometimes I do that. The good news is it's super easy to fix. You just have to warm up your solder again. And that's why people have tools or things that go underneath there that are flush with it. If it's not flush, you'll see what happens. That it kind of kicks it off again. So this side's a little bit messier. That happens because I'm still trying to figure out my process of it. A lot of people have little jigs or gadgets to hold things in place. You can see that my soldering needs a little bit more work still, but I do know once I upgrade my iron, it will be so much better. And so if your heat's too high on the side here, it's probably really difficult to see. I'll fix that last. It kind of indents your solder in places that it shouldn't. And whenever you're doing a beaded edge, you definitely want to wear heat resistant gloves because that solder will roll off and you will absolutely end up with injuries at some point. Now I just want to lower my temperature so I can fix the edges over here. Because if you don't lower it, it creates this weird, like, wave. Because I don't have that correct tip, my tinning doesn't really match the sides, and I like to do what I can to work with what I have. So I try to even it out a little bit. I wish I could flip the camera and show you. There's just a bunch of cows in a pasture next door to me. They all just run up to eat the trees. So if you hear that, that's just what it is. And you don't want to move it too much when you first put heat to it because it will kind of fall off and make that wave. The really good news is that my patina is going to cover up most of my terrible soldering. But I have embraced that it's just, I just need the new soldering iron and I should be okay. I'm sure there will be a huge learning curve in adapting to it. But that's what we're here for, to learn together. So the next step would be to wash this all off, is the flux off of there, shine it up, and then I'll put patina on it. And I add twine now instead of chain because I think it gives people a better option. And this is one that I did before I came on. And I'm gonna add like a little moon copper foil overlay once I wash it up. Like a little spell book for my Summerween stuff. And these were definitely really good practice, but I'm not a big fan of the pattern itself. However, it gave me a lot of practice. I did quite a few of these little potion bottles, and learned a lot with them. Very simple pattern, but learned a lot. And I'm not going to tape this one, which is I'll probably kick myself for saying this, but I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to flux the rest of it. soldering iron to do the actual lines. That little movement was why you should absolutely tape it down. The rest of that, actually I'm gonna And again, once I go through and I tin it and I put the copper wires on, I will fix up all of the solder lines to clean them up a little bit more. I'm also kind of practicing with my different methods. Some people tin before they start soldering. So I'm just kind of trying to figure out what works best for me. And that was a perfect example of why you wear heat-resistant gloves when you're working with stained glass. Should say solder. Tin this side, and then I'm going to do the beaded edge on this one. I think I'm going to have a little bit of difficulty with these two edges, but we'll see what happens. So I'm going to lower my soldering iron, get my heat-resistant glove, and then do the beaded edge, which again, definitely learning a lesson in soldering irons. And I know that if this specific iron had a wedge tip that they made, I would be able to work with it, but unfortunately they don't. so I just kind of have to do what I can. So I'm just making my little hooks. They're jump rings to hang this. And the reason that you do a tail on there, which I learned in my second attempt at making stained glass, thanks to the wonderful people on the internet who shared their knowledge with me, you want to add a hook because it allows more strength on your piece versus, I went the wrong way on this one. If it's not kind of buried into that solder, it's going to be more likely to pull off your copper foil and just make it a little bit more vulnerable. I'm just gonna tin the jump ring. This one's a little bit wonky, but this is just a practice one anyway, so normally I would recut it, because once you tin it, you can't really straighten that out. You can really hear the cows now. Need to clean my tip. All the sounds of nature that you're gonna get right now. Hey Anne, how's it going? I've come to the conclusion that I definitely need a different soldering iron because I can't get a tip for this one. If I could, I swear this would be fine. But unfortunately, they don't make them for it. So that's why my beaded edge is never really going to improve from what it currently is. But it's getting better. So then the next step would be to clean this all up, get all of the flux off of there, kind of polish it up a little bit with a magic eraser, and then put patina on it to cover up all of my little mistakes that I have on there. And then I will add twine on there so that somebody can hang it. And that's it. So you can see on this side, maybe you can see my copper foil was not even. So I am gonna eventually get that black adhesive backing so you can't see as much of it, or hopefully none of it. But I've heard not great reviews on it. So I'm not sure if it's just specific brands, but even the good brand that everybody uses has had really bad reviews lately. Thank you. This is still part of like that Summerween stuff I was kind of doing. And then I'll get back to larger projects, different projects. And this is the one, I think you might have been on here one time, but this is the one where I'm gonna do like the step-by-step of how to make stained glass. This side's a little bit wonky as you can see, but, and I have to add hooks on it. I think I'll add them here, or probably up here actually. And then I just need to make one more. I need a new grinder bit, so I've kind of been avoiding it to finish making them. Because when your grinder bit is bad, it's a pain in the butt. Yeah, I try to, but I think I was just kind of over copper foiling. And honestly, when I was doing those ones, I was doing it in bad lighting, which is another lesson that I learned. But I knew that that one wasn't going to go anywhere. It's just kind of practice. But normally I try to take off that excess with the X-Acto knife. It just, sometimes it doesn't, I can't see it until I get out here with like good lighting, and I'm like, ugh. And since I'm still learning and just practicing, I just let it stay on there, which is not a good thing to teach or to talk about. Too much flux. I'm also kind of experimenting as I do these today, in what step I like tin, how much flux I add, different temperatures. It's kind of a little bit of an experiment too. And I'm just lowering my temperature now so I could tin the edges on both sides, and then I'll do the beaded edge. And you can see my copper foiling on this one's uneven. This is when I was trying that newer copper foil, because my other one kept coming off, which it turned out it was the actual roll or the brand. I had 3 of them and they all did the same thing. So I got new copper foil, but it was an adjustment to work with. So these are all kind of just practice ones as I was testing out different methods. So I'm gonna lower it a little bit more. Grab my heat resistant glove and do the beaded edge. Oops. I think I need to clean my tip again. Need some flux on there. So I'm going to add my hooks and then I'll clean up all those edges. I can tell that my technique is getting a little bit sloppy now because all that heat is setting in as I'm outside. So I'm just tinning my little jump ring because I found that it's easier if you tin it beforehand or use the pre-tin copper, but I don't have that. So I'm just using the supplies that I have until I run out, and then I'll decide if I want to continue. But once you tin it, you can't really change the shape of it. So that's something to kind of pay attention to. If your jump ring is a little bit wonky, you definitely want to fix it. Oops. I'll lower the temperature again so I can do like the very edges. That is one thing that's kind of a pain in the butt, is having to do all of the temperature control stuff. Especially because on the edges, you don't get that cleanliness of it. But it could just be, once I get a soldering iron, a different one, maybe that problem kind of disappears. I'm not sure. As you can see, So the beaded edge definitely still needs work. It's very hot right now. But overall, like the solder lines get pretty clean. It's just, I'm pretty sure it's the tip that I have on the actual soldering iron. So I will have to upgrade it because I can't get tips for this specific model, which really stinks because it's a good iron, now that I kind of know how to use it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So here's the ones, and then I have to clean it up. That one got really hot. You can kind of see what was soldered today. So part of the Summerween Halloween collection. Just practicing and getting a little bit better at it. But thank you so much to everybody who joined, and hopefully I'll be on live soon when I get some bigger projects to do. Yeah, I will see you next time.